guys. We're super excited. This is our first official podcast episode for Let's Get Shit Done. Are you excited, Iman?
Super excited.
Are you?
Yeah, a little
I
nervous.
can tell. Yeah,
it's a little warm.
It's a little nerve-wracking. You'll know why. To be honest, I am about to piss in my pants of how nervous I am, but we just knew how important it was for us to have this conversation and start off our podcast with this. So it's going to be about your story, about what's your story. So this is the first time that we're expressing our stories to the public. To be
in full detail.
Bear with me. To give you a little backstory, I am probably the least vulnerable person ever. You can ask friends, family. The thought of me having a vulnerable conversation, I literally cringe and want to roll up in a little ball and hide somewhere or run away, basically. So if I'm not vulnerable in private, I thought it'd be a great idea to be vulnerable in public and just tell my story out. 0 to 100 real quick. So that's essentially what we're doing today. Encourage for us to tell our story, hopefully, and encourages you all to share your story, be able to be more vulnerable, open up, and hopefully some of these stories will resonate with you. So before we get started, our podcasts, every episode, we wanted to include wine. We want to highlight a wine bottle of that day. And today it is Worthy. It's so appropriate.
You are worthy, and you are
exactly.
worthy. And you are worthy.
We're all worthy. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of happiness. And I actually had this wine. I want to say the last time I had it was 5 years ago at a restaurant in Rockville. I am actually not a big fan of Italian food.
Oh wow!
I'm probably one
I'm a super fan of it.
I love Italian food, but that's not my go-to. If I'm I want to go to an Italian restaurant. But there's a place in Rockville that I'm obsessed with. Place called Il Pizzico. Have you been?
No, I have not.
Really good. Highly recommended. It's one of those places. It looks like a hole in the wall from outside, but you walk in,
I love those type of
and it's actually a really nice Italian restaurant. You can tell it's a homey. The owner is the hostess. The waiters are Italian. It just feels really authentic. And they have this mushroom ravioli with a pistachio cream sauce. Absolutely delicious. Highly recommended. But anyways, I had this wine there for the first time there, and I just fell in love with it. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley. Really light, easy drinking wine, and it really pairs well with a lot of different foods. So I thought it would be worthy.
There's also another reason. We're hoping to pick up some wine sponsors. So if there's any out there, that's our end goal. Hey, had to do that. Sorry.
So in that sense, cheers.
Cheers.
To being worthy.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers to all of you.
So I guess we'll kind of jump right into it. Sorry, I'm getting really nervous, to be honest. Just to break the ice, I think, you put the pressure on me to go first.
Yeah.
But
ladies first, that's why.
Yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. So I wrote a poem a few months ago. Actually, not that long ago. Very, very recent. And I thought I'd start off with that poem. And just to kind of set the tone and honestly to break the ice. I feel like if I read this poem, then it's then it's ready for me to express a lot more. So without further ado.
But before you read it, I just want to say that I'm super proud of you for taking this huge leap of faith, and I hope that it
like what you too.
You too. But
I think we're both really putting a lot out there.
Yeah.
And I think this moment of, sharing our stories to one another and sharing it to
strangers,
to complete strangers, it's huge. So I think this is us getting out of our comfort zone. And I think one goal I have in my life is to become more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And this is just one step towards that. So here I go, guys. All right. Whew. Let me take a moment. I need to breathe. Woosah. Okay. They say a girl's first love is their dad. My first heartbreak was my dad. Love lost and never found. A family of jokesters, I was told never be sad. After the divorce, it was just my mom and I. Strong and independent, never let your weakness shine. Wipe your tears, you're too strong to cry. I always had something to say until my voice was taken away. I entered Wall Street, stared at head to toe. I was told just to have a seat, you're too pretty to speak. If I spoke firmly, I was too emotional. If I put my hair up, I was more approachable. Don't be playful, be a lady, they said. Don't speak up, bite your tongue instead. It took one relationship to strip my identity. I lost my independence, he gained control and jealousy. Don't speak, your needs and feelings don't matter. Be compliant, he said, our relationship will never shatter. Stay home, don't have fun, he said. Don't be you, or there will be a dead end. Now where's my voice? Where's my identity? Lead with confidence before you lose your serenity. Be authentic, be you. Expectations and labels don't define you. Be vulnerable, be strong. And that was the secret all along. So,
how do you feel?
I feel good. I feel good. I think it's liberating. As a kid, my outlet was always, because I wasn't an verbally expressive person, my outlet was always writing. Absolutely enjoyed writing poems and journaling. That was my way to like escape or for me to cope with all my emotions. I didn't know how to express it. So instead of holding it in, I would express it by writing it. So I did that growing up as a kid. And basically, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, good old Nashville, Tennessee, with all my dad's side of family. And with them, how can I explain my family? They are mostly men. So I grew up with mostly men, and they're just jokesters. They're the type of people we would get around as a family, and like I'd always say, like, we're just busting balls. Like, it's just a joke fest. Every family outing. And I was just put on like a pedestal or like put on a stage because I was just continue.
You were the only girl in the group too? Young girl?
I wasn't the only girl, but few girls. But I feel like I was more of the like
Still
one of the
in
boys.
attention. Oh, okay.
I was like one of the boys. Like I fit in. Like they would joke around. I would just jump in and I would joke around with them, and I just kept getting that attention from the family. And that's kind of how we express love, essentially. So my dad, growing with him, he was never the kind of dad that was, I don't think I've ever heard him say, I love you until quite recently. So growing up, he never said the words, I love you. He never actually said like, he never been like, oh, how beautiful you're looking today. He would be like, oh, what are you wearing? Oh, you're so ugly, in a joking manner. But that's kind of what I was raised when I heard. He would only talk to me like that. He would talk to my mom like that too. So I would just laugh it off. As a kid, I didn't see it. I didn't view it as anything less. I just thought it was just, oh, funny. But that was essentially the whole family. That's how it was. Like,
and you wouldn't know any better at that time anyways. These are all things that you reflect
I just
back
thought
on.
It was like normal. At that point in my life, I just thought it was normal. So what I would do I would jump in. I would just be like, oh, let me fit in. Like, this is how it is. This is love. My dad's showing me this. This is how I need to be. So then I became like a complete jokester. And like the family, just to kind of give you a little bit more example of how they were. It's like, if you were at a soccer game or like a dance recital, they wouldn't come and be like, oh, good job. Well done. Even if you completely missed the goal or anything, you tripped and fell, like, most families, they would encourage you and want to support you. They would just be like, oh, ha, ha, you looked really funny the way you kicked that ball. You should have seen yourself. Like, that was the dynamic of the family I was raised in. So what I took, and I translated that into school. So then I became the class clown. So I got kicked out of school. I got suspended. I would get in fights. I would just talk back a lot, and I was just getting attention. The way I got attention at home, the way I was praised at home of being this funny, like busting balls kind of girl, I did that at school too. And everyone at school, I got the attention. I thought it was funny.
Question: when you were having these like getting kicked out of school,
yeah,
did you realize what you were doing were wrong, or were you like, wait a second, I'm just being myself, and what's going on? Like, were you conflicted as far as what it was?
No, actually, I think now reflecting back, I thought it was like cool to get kicked out. Like
Okay.
I viewed it as like, oh, like it's whatever.
So you never took it seriously. Like the punishments were never anything that. Like,
I don't think I ever took anything seriously. Just like my family, they never took anything seriously. Everything for them was just a joke. So after getting kicked out and all this stuff, and the family always viewed me as like I was a troublemaker. If anything went wrong in the entire family, oh, it was Jasmine's fault. It was her fault. And so I just got used to hearing that. When my parents got a divorce, which honestly was not a surprise, I was pretty mature for my age.
How old were you?
I was 10 years old when it happened. I'll never forget. It was like 2 weeks after my 10th birthday. And when I found out, I was like, oh, yeah, I saw this coming. Because, I heard them, they tried to hide it from me. I feel like my story goes a lot deeper than what I'm sharing now, but I feel like we need hours for that story. But overall, after the divorce, it was just my mom and I. And my mom really wanted to get out of Nashville. And during that time, my family put a lot of pressure and kept being like, oh, your mom's going to ruin you. You're going to leave. You're going to end up like us. A little backstory. That family, they're jokesters, but they're just not that side of family that I grew up with. They're jokesters, but they're also not like, none of them are doing anything with their lives. They're not accomplished in any definition of accomplishment. Accomplishment could have various meanings, but no matter what definition of accomplishment anyone could have,
so you had no one to look up to from the father's side.
Not at all. So there was nothing like I could inspire to be like, oh, there's the potential. And especially the community in Nashville, it's like no one really did anything beyond. It was such a close-knit community where it was just like you get pregnant when you're 18, get married, live a miserable life, and just if you're lucky,
that was the standard. Like
if you're lucky, you work it, you get a 9 to 5. If you're lucky, if not, you're working just a standard job, making ends meet.
So the bar was set super low.
Yeah, and my family was even like lower than that. Basically, let's just put it that way. So for me, I never saw anything and being like, oh, my hopes and dreams, like I'm gonna do this. So, and they thought like, oh, you're just one of us. They just wanted to categorize me as that. But my mom had bigger dreams for not just herself, but for me as well. So she was like, we need to get out of Nashville. We need to get out of here. So we ended up in Maryland, in the DC area. And when we ended up here, I remember my family, I didn't want to leave. Right, I was like, 12, 13 years old. And my childhood was there. My family was there. My friends were there. I built a life there. And I had to come to a completely culture shock area. And so then from there, I was, I was still the same Jasmine there, still getting in trouble in school and this until I was like, what am I doing? It kind of hit me. I was like,
What was it, like a defining moment?
Honestly, I can't tell you like a moment. I think there was one moment actually I can remember. It was in high school. Oh my God. People will be like shocked. People who know me be like, really, Jasmine?
That requires that requires a little sip, I think. Something big is about to pop right now.
It was, I think, freshman year in high school. And long story short, I was kind of dating a guy, but that's another story. My relationship issue is a completely different story. But then there was a girl who was interested in him, but then let's just say she got jealous and then a fight broke out at a basketball game in high school. That fight broke out, and I remember my biology teacher coming and dragging me from the basketball court all the way up to his classroom. And then he was just basically like cursing me out. He was like, Jasmine, what the fuck are you doing? You need to get your shit together.
Montgomery County teacher.
Oh yeah, Walter Johnson. Dub J, go Wildcats. Actually, don't go Wildcats. Terrible. They were never good in any sports. Actually, they were okay in soccer. But anyways, so he cursed me. I was just like, whoa, is my teacher actually talking to me like this? I think that was like a wake-up call, was like, I need to get my shit together. Like, I
Is it
can't
because
be
you
like that.
respected the teacher so much and you were so surprised? Like he cared, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I think I respected him as an individual. For someone to just real talk like that really opens your eyes.
what type of teacher? Biology?
Biology
Okay.
teacher. And I did not do well in that class. Science oriented, not me at all. Science and math was absolutely not me. But anyways, after that, I was like, I need to change. I need to change. So it got to the point where, you know, I was in a better path. I was changing. But then
So like, what did you do differently?
I just didn't get in fights.
Okay.
Or I was a little better in school. Like, granted, even back in Nashville, although I was a class clown getting kicked out of school and all this stuff, I was still getting decent grades. It's not like I was failing. It was a good balance, I want to call it. But anyway, so going into college, I remember before going into college, I got accepted into fashion school. I was super excited because I always wanted to go to fashion school or open up my dance studio. Those were my two like dreams. I wanted to open up a dance studio, choreograph, be a choreographer. I wanted to teach kids dance. That was more like a passion project, but career-wise, I wanted to get into fashion. I got accepted in top fashion schools in New York and in LA. Ready to go, but my mom was like, no, 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 no. The Persianness in her, you know, having a Middle Eastern family, they wanted you to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. She was just like, go get a real degree and then you can go and do that. And then I've always wanted to give back to my mom, like all that she sacrificed. I just wanted to make her happy. I was like, you know what, fine. So I did. I started with a business degree and then I was like, no, this is not me. Then I wanted to become a nutritionist. And then I realized I have to take organic chemistry. I said, absolutely not. That's not for me. Finally, I ended up with communications. And once I did communications
at Maryland.
I'm at University of Maryland, yeah. And then once I graduated, I got into, it was that kind of like that point, it's like, I need to get a job. Like, I need to get a job. It doesn't matter what you want your dream job to be. It's just the pressure of getting a job. So I got into the technology world. So I got into tech and it was great. But again, that was the starting point of me working in male-driven environments. And from there, I slowly just started losing who I was. And I just didn't know how to act. I had to easily become a chameleon and assimilate myself to every environment where I felt like it was very sales driven. So I had to travel a lot, had to be in a lot of meetings, presentations around a lot of men, where people would view me. I was this 5'1" on a good day girl coming in, you know, dressed, you know, fashion was always a big deal for me. So I would be mindful of what I was dressed, how I was dressed, and what I look like. And they would just look at me like, what do you know? Especially in the tech world. Mm-hmm. They just expected a girl that had to be like her hair up, glasses. So
business suit.
Yeah. So they didn't take me seriously. So I had to work extra hard. And then it kind of got to the point where if I'm being used as like what they would call like a booth babe. So then all these little things, I was like, okay, I need to be taken more seriously. When I'm a jokester, when I used to be myself, guys would take it as, oh, she's flirting with me. Oh, she's interested in me. So I had to kind of dial back and be a little more serious. So that was one element of it. And then during the time I was at that job, I was in a really bad relationship. That relationship was, you know, a year of us being friends. We were good friends before it evolved into a romantic relationship. And during that time, you know, we got to know each other. Everything was great. And after it became a romantic relationship, he took everything he knew about me and just used it against me, essentially. And his insecurities, and it just became pretty controlling. it became controlling, and the person who he fell in love with was, I wouldn't call it the authentic Jasmine, was not the girl he wanted to be his girlfriend or potentially his wife. So he tried to change that. So I couldn't be this bubbly, funny Jasmine if we were around other people. If I was funny, oh, like it's coming off bad, or this, or are you like this with other people if I'm not around? And it just became toxic.
He was critical of every positive attribute that you thought you had.
Exactly. And then I started questioning it. And slowly and slowly, at that point, I allowed him. I would fight back. I kept fighting back. But at the end of the day, I still allowed him to have that sense of control. 2.5 years later, I looked in the mirror and then I was like, this is not me. It's not me. Really long, brutal breakup. But again, that's a different story. I have multiple layers of stories I can continue going on. But that relationship ended, but the damage was there. And then from there, I go into Wall Street. After I get my MBA, and a different world there too. Again, male-driven people. I felt like I just had to become, again, going back to being one of the boys, being feminine and being open and emotional was just not accepted. And again, in those environments, I was not taken seriously if I was myself. I had to bite my tongue. Over time, it just a combination of my family growing up where emotion and vulnerability was foreign to them. Like, I didn't even know, because we weren't emotional. Like, we weren't a hugging family and an affectionate family. And
it was missing genuine love.
It was. So I didn't know how to, I was always really good at giving love, but when it came to receiving love, I got really awkward and I just didn't know how to receive it because I've never really genuinely received that kind of love, especially when it comes from a man. When it comes from a man, I never received that love. So I carry on this whole, like, let me bite my tongue. I was in a relationship where he made it seem like what I wanted, what my needs are, what my wants were, didn't matter. So I learned that, okay, what I want doesn't matter. Being in my relationship with my dad.
Trophy wife situation.
Basically, that's really what it was. Like, I'm just your arm candy, someone that you just want on your side. And with my relationship with my dad, every time I expressed how I feel and what I wanted, it didn't matter. I kept getting hurt, my expectations. So then over time, I just learned that it doesn't matter. That's really what it is. It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter how I feel. So that was one big component of it. And then I remember going, and then I was thinking, what is it? Like, I don't feel like myself, but I couldn't pinpoint why that's the case. So that was the whole, my dad, the relationship, work, everyone just trying to change you. And I felt like my biggest strength of being a chameleon and being able to fit in. Everyone always said, like, oh, put Jasmine in any environment and she can fit in so well. Like, you can put me in a table with the president and I can just, well, like maybe other presidents, and adapt, but, or like anybody, I can easily adapt, no matter what level that individual's on. So I thought that was great. But then I realized by me constantly doing that, I'm losing sight of who I am. So it really hit me when I was living in Philly and I was, the technology world, it just wasn't me. I'm a creative person in this. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? From the outside perspective, it looks like I have everything figured out. Like, everyone's always like, oh, Jasmine, you have your shit together. And then I'm like, no, I don't. What you see on social media, just because I'm traveling, I had a good job. I was getting paid really well. It seemed like,
if anything, those travels, I'm assuming here, were like an outlet for what was really happening.
Absolutely.
And so you're like, fuck, I'm out of here.
Absolutely.
And then those give the impression of falsehood.
Yeah. So that was, so then I decided to get up and go to Bali. It was like one of those like eat, pray, love moments where I was like, I just need to get away. I need to reflect
And
and
that was
see
like
what was going
alone.
on. Yeah, that
That's
was
a
huge,
huge
me going
moment.
alone. Yeah. So I went, and during that time was the first time I was actually vulnerable about my story. And I remember this guy that I was talking to, and he told me, I'll never forget this moment. He goes, "You've been living your life to be ensure that you're the complete opposite of your family."
Mm.
I was like, whoa, mind blown at that moment. I was like, you're right. Every decision I made, it's like I was proving to my family back in Nashville that I'm nothing like you all. So I made decisions not based on what I wanted or who I wanted to be. I wanted to ensure that they knew that I won't become anything like them. Although they thought like, oh, Jasmine's gonna screw up. Oh, Jasmine's mom took her from Nashville and they're just gonna fall flat on their feet. And I wanted to prove that. So my every decision I made was based on that. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Now I felt like, is it too late about what I want? So I remember coming back from Bali and being like, that's it. I quit my job, and then I'm going to do what I want to do.
Job.
The Philly job. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And that was, I'm going to enter the fashion world.
Now we're like 2-3 years out.
What do you mean?
From now, like this
This
now
was
we're talking
3 years
about,
ago.
like,
This was 3 years ago. And I joined fashion, and then I realized I'm still not happy. Like, I still don't feel myself. Like, what is it that I still don't feel like I can be fully the old Jasmine? Like, I'm trying to find, a lot of people don't know, Jasmine isn't actually my birth name. My birth name is actually Epsoon. And I legally changed my name to Jasmine when I was in college. Although people called me Jasmine a long time ago, but legally got changed in college. But then for me, it was like, I want to find Epsoon. That was the girl that I want to find, that I've lost her. And how can I find her again? And then even in the fashion world, I thought I could find her in that sense. And I won't forget when I was in training and I was with the CEO, and we were in training all day, and then there was happy hours after, and there was one night we went bowling, and then at the end of it, he sat down, he gave feedback. So just kind of sending his regards, like saying good luck, and just kind of giving feedback from the training. He goes, Jasmine, let people see the real you. I was like, what? He goes, when we were playing bowling, I saw you come out. He was like, make sure that girl, that Jazz, and he actually said Jazz. He was like, make sure it's Jazz that comes out all the time. That's when you're going to be successful. What do you think he
saw there that prompted him to say that all of a sudden?
Honestly, I feel like it was just me out of my like, I think during training, I've just been I got so used to, I have to be this poised, put together girl. Because when I was going to Nashville, I wasn't that like classy, poised girl. Absolutely not.
So you were cracking jokes and being fun.
Yeah.
And just...
I would be like, oh, you want a pizza eating contest? I got you.
Yeah.
I would take pride on how I could demolish a pizza better than any man in my family. That was like my specialty. Or like, let's try out some wings. That was Jazz, right?
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be that. That's not socially acceptable. I have to be calm, collected. Then I just complete 180. And during that time,
but what do you think got you out of that shell that night?
I think it was just like playing bowling and just being playful. And that's what I'm assuming. And then that's when he said, like, I saw the real you there. I want you to show that more often. Nice. And that was just like, whoa. And then I understood what he was talking about, but I still didn't, like, I kept it. I held on to it. But did change happen? No. I still continued on my journey. And during that time, I was dating a guy who also kept telling me, like, Jazz, be more vulnerable. Jazz, is this the real you? Like, show me the real you. I feel like there's something missing. And then I could sense it, but I just didn't know what to do about it. I kept being like, what is it? I couldn't pinpoint what it is. And I kept trying to I kept going crazy thinking like, why can't I just get out and embrace Afsoon/Jazz? Like, why can't that girl come out? Again, I never knew what emotion was. I never knew vulnerability was. Going back to my mom. My mom being the strongest badass I know, but for her to protect me, she never showed her weakness. She never showed her vulnerability because she wanted to make sure that everything is great.
Yeah.
She wanted to express to me. So I was raised with my role model showing me you always have to be tough. And that's what I learned. I felt like, oh, for me, I can do this on my own. So I got really good being able to compartmentalize all my feelings.
It seems like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because you want, as a single mother, you want to pass on strength and confidence.
Yeah.
But there's the other side.
No, of course.
Yeah.
And like, I never blame her for anything. As a single mother, a really young mother, she was doing the best she could. But at that moment, I didn't realize like the impact it had on me in that sense. Granted, I didn't hold things in so much. It was more that I just dealt things with on my own. One, I never had a man in my life that I could go to. So being in relationships, it was so difficult for me to go to a man and show weakness, show that, because every time I did that, it was turned away. It was looked down upon. So I just learned that the only person I have is myself. I can handle with everything on my own, and I've been doing really good at it. And I'm lucky enough that haven't been bearing it. I've been compartmentalizing really well and dealing with it well by writing, by being my own therapist, basically. The fact that I'm able to relieve that emotion and deal with it, I just don't know how to express it with others. So I think during this time, everyone telling me this, the relationship with a guy that I truly loved at that point, like really told me that I got to the point where the breakup that happened a couple of months ago, that's where it hit me. After the breakup, it was just like, wow, I'm really not me. But what am I like? How am I going to change this, regardless of that relationship, for my own being, for my own success? I need to embrace that the true Jazz, the true Afsoon, because I don't know the world's ready for it, but she's a lot better. Anyone who knows Jasmine knows that if they meet Jazz, it's a lot better. For me to embrace that person and being confident and that individual, and I don't need to associate it with the girl in Nashville. I don't need to associate it with my family. It's me. It's what makes me me. And that was my wake-up call of I need to lead day by day, not worry about what other people are going to think, not how people are going to perceive me. In the end of the day, it's me showing up as who I am and being confident in that. And it's either hate or love it. And I think that was really my wake up moment. And it's kind of this like liberating moment where now I'm just like, screw it. I'm going to talk about whatever. I'm going to say whatever I want without worrying what other people are going to think, because I think you got to be confident in yourself, which translated into the message where in BOC, which is a CBD product that my mom and I worked on together, that I really wanted to be a confidence movement. I really wanted to be a lifestyle brand that hopefully we can impact and encourage women to be confident, because I feel like as women, we're faced with so many different limitations, expectations, and I think it's beautiful for us to embrace the feminine energy that women have. And it's not a sense of weakness, whether you're working on Wall Street or if you're an artist. You can still be that beautiful woman that you are without having people judge you if you're being too emotional, you're being too vulnerable. And finally viewing vulnerability as a strength and being a little more comfortable. Again, this is a journey.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a journey. And this is one step. Us doing this podcast of sharing the story is a moment to share that and get out of my comfort zone and just, lead with who I am. So
Afsoon is jazz.
Afsoon is jazz. So I'm trying to find Afsoon, which means magic.
The new and improved
so
Afsoon is jazz.
A little bit of magic. So bring a little magic to the world. World, get ready for it because Afsoon's gonna grace them with.
So you and I had to go back and forth a lot, trying to figure out what really our topics were going to be for this story episode.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this story?
Like authenticity?
Yeah, I mean, like, why did you choose, of all the things that you could share about your story, why this story? And like, what do you hope that it kind of, the message that it sends?
There's so many different messages, and I feel like down the line with our podcast, more of my stories and different aspects of it will come up. But for this particular one, I think the message I wanted to get out was, you know, me being this little girl growing up in Nashville, sweet, innocent, and not getting the love that essentially I deserved.
You were worthy of.
Yeah, that I was worthy of. And how that's impacted me in relationships and how my career and professionally, how they've tried to strip me from putting me in a box of how I'm supposed to act, who I'm supposed to be. And if I was myself, it's perceived wrong. It's perceived like, oh, you're coming on to us. Oh, you're just this girl, just a pretty girl. That's literally wasn't viewed as, they never viewed beauty and intelligence together, especially in the industry I was in. It was me I remember there was a time they were trying to get a meeting with a senior vice president of Comcast. For months, they've been trying to get that meeting with this guy. And then when I come in, I go, oh, I took it as a challenge. I was like, I'm gonna get this meeting with him.
Yeah.
And since this guy comes from, his background was from the smart home space and IoT, Internet of Things, and he knew a little bit about blockchain and stuff like that, which was my background. So I led with that. I reached out to him and I led with that, and I got the meeting. And I told them I got this meeting. They're like, great. We're going to have like Mr., techie guy join the meeting. I was like, I would appreciate if I go to this meeting on my own.
Yeah, you got this.
I was like, he's expecting this meeting with me. And I don't want, they're like, no, he's going to come with you. And that was kind of like one of the many, many moments where I just felt like my value was being diminished. I was just viewed as like bait. Like, we'll throw a pretty girl out there to get the guy for the meeting. But once we get the guy, we'll throw in the smart guy to come into the meeting to seal the deal. So my confidence just kind of kept getting diminished. And I was in one relationship before the really bad one where the guy was, I was in college at that time, and the guy thought he was just finishing law school and thought he was just the smartest guy in the world and just wanted to make the world seem that way. So he kept just trying to put me down, make it seem like, oh, I know everything. Oh, like, let me help you. And kept also making me seem like I don't have any value. I don't have a voice. I'm not intelligent enough. So all these different elements kept adding up to the point where I was just like questioning my own value. And am I good enough? Can I do this? And am I worthy? Like, making it seem like as a young girl, when you think your dad didn't love you, why would anyone else love you? Why would anyone else show you that love? So it kind of got to that point where I wanted to tell this story. Just anyone listening, doesn't have to be someone that has a bad relationship with their father, anything like that. It could be a bad relationship. It could be bad experiences in work. It's just knowing that you're worthy. End of the day, you are worthy of love. You're worthy of happiness, and being confident in who you are and knowing that who you are is fucking good enough.
Yeah.
It's the best. And there's only one of you out there. And if you try to be someone else, don't compare, especially in a world with social media we're so consumed in trying to compare ourselves to everyone else and thinking we're not good enough if we're not like this individual. We don't look like this person. We're not as successful as this person. So we get stuck in this black hole. But knowing if I can just inspire someone, knowing that like, you got this.
That journey of figuring out who you are is a crazy journey.
Yeah. And it's still on the journey. And I feel like we'll always be on a journey. The journey never ends. And accepting that. I think we need to accept that the journey doesn't end. We're constantly evolving, we're growing. And I've gotten to a point where it feels good. Don't get me wrong, it hurts. Yeah. There is still a lot of pain attached to it. But knowing how to overcome that and how to grow from that is the most powerful thing. And knowing, one, that you're not alone. Everyone has a story, and knowing that you're not alone and you can overcome any obstacles. Your only enemy is yourself, is your fear, is your brain. It's what's the stories we keep telling ourselves in our brain. Knowing how to like get rid of those stories and overcome that and create our own stories. And yeah, so that's to answer your question. That was the story I wanted to give back, because I think it's important for either women or men to know that they're worthy of love, that they deserve love, and they deserve to be who they are.
Yeah.
And when you're
the
authentic,
key is being true to yourself.
Be true to yourself, and knowing that people will love you for who you are.
And those who don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So
man,
woo. So that's my story. Again,
that's a lot
to it. That's literally the Spark Notes version of it.
Other people call it Cliff Notes, the old school versions, but you guys,
the new generation.
Brandon, what do you call it?
Spark Notes.
No, come on, dude. Cliff Notes. Come on, Brandon.
You're just old, dude. You're just old.
Cliff Notes, man. Cliff Notes. Okay. Spark Notes.
No, newer generation, millennials, and then we got baby boomers here.
So. I'm a millennial too, goddammit.
Barely.
I'm right there.
Barely.
You're not drinking your wine, by the way. If we're going to be talking about wine, you have to actually...
I'm surprised I'm not like with this emotional conversation.
So, but before we continue, the one thing that you would like want to do differently if you had to go back to like 16, 17-year-old Jazz would be what?
I've thought about this, and there is a laundry list of things I would want to do differently. But then I look back, and then I'm like, I don't think I would change anything, because it's part of your journey. I feel like nothing can ever be perfect. You can't ever change everything to go in this. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and everything is guiding, and you learn from it. If everything was going great, how do you learn? How do you actually know what you want or what you deserve in this? And I think it's the most important thing is that there's shit's going to happen in your life. Don't attach yourself to being a victim of it. And I think that's what most people do. They'll sit and they'll just ponder, be like, why is this happening to me? Oh, they'll just blame it on their childhood. They'll blame it on this. I didn't have this opportunity in this.
The victim card.
Yeah. And I think it's important for you to accept being like, it happened, but what can you control right now? End of the day, don't let your emotions control you. You should control your emotions.
Where does forgiveness play in this whole situation?
Man, forgiveness is huge. I'm so glad you brought that up. It is huge. And I think one thing I learned a couple years ago, which I did, was I wrote a forgiveness letter.
To who?
To my dad.
Oh, wow.
I didn't send it to him. You don't need to send it.
Okay.
I just wrote it, and I wrote a forgiveness letter to myself.
Wow.
And, again,
you still have those letters?
I do. I do have those letters. Man. And I forgave myself for, I think the biggest thing for me was the bad relationship I was in, like 4 or 5 years ago. It was more of me not being mad at him. It was mad at myself for putting up with it. Like, why? Knowing who I am. I'm like this independent, free-spirited person. Like, not like anyone control me. Like, I want to live my life, but I let someone strip that from me. And the fact that I allowed it, although I tried to get away multiple times, it was a very emotionally abusive relationship. But the fact that I didn't, so I held on to all that pain and resentment on myself. So I wrote that forgiveness letter to myself and I wrote it to my dad. And I think it's a powerful thing. I definitely recommend everyone to do that.
Why didn't you send it to him?
Because there's no point. People who know my dad will know that it'll literally go from like one ear out the other. It's not, the important thing is not him. He doesn't need to read it. It's just getting those. I think that's why I love writing. It's such a good way to release emotions and not bottle it up in you. So I'll just constantly write. And it makes you feel better. I encourage everyone to write a forgiveness letter to yourself. I'm sure there's a lot of things we all want to forgive ourselves for.
And I guess now that you kind of say like that, it's one of those things where you can only control what you can control.
Exactly.
So yeah, you could send a letter to your father, or whoever, and like at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you kind of rid yourself
For
of
sure,
any
you
of that
can't.
shame or hate or whatever.
I don't hold. One thing that I'm so happy about myself is I've never held grudges. Like I don't think I'm capable of holding grudges.
That's an incredibly strong
like
trait to have, by the way.
I'm the type of person that I'll get mad like at something, and the next day I'll totally forget why I was mad. My like anger for me is just not an emotion that comes naturally. Like something really needs to happen for me to get angry. And because I don't hold those grudges, because I don't believe in grudges, what's the point? The only person you're hurting is yourself when you hold grudges. That person that you're upset with is living their life.
Do you think those experiences that you've had are the reason why you don't hold grudges? Like, was there a time where you used to be mad and you used to express it, and it was like a one-way road?
No.
Never, huh?
I was never.
Wow.
Was actually pretty I was always the sweet girl.
Even
as much as like I talk about me getting in fights and this, it wasn't like that. Like I make it seem like I was just this violent person, but I wasn't. I wasn't. I was just a jokester. But deep down, I was the biggest or smallest teddy bear out there. I always had a huge heart, and that's where I always said I always showed love, no matter. I never expected anything in return. Even my family, they didn't. I would show love, but because I never received it, I don't know how to react with it.
I guess the obvious question is, why do you think that you reacted with love? Where'd that come from? How did you know?
What?
Like you're saying that you would respond with love.
I wouldn't respond with love. I would lead with love.
Lead with love.
I would lead with love.
Why? How? I mean, why wasn't
it was
there
just
resentment?
My heart.
Why wasn't
it was just my heart? Maybe there at times when I got older there was a little resentment.
Yeah.
But overall my default is just I don't know why.
Nature or nurture?
It just more both. A little bit of both. I think I'm a naturally nurturer at heart. And I just want to lead with that.
Yeah.
But when it's reciprocated, I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm not worthy of that or I don't deserve that love is why I kind of retract. And I remember I had a really good friend. This guy is absolutely amazing. I remember I gave him a hug and he goes, Jasmine, no. That's not how you hug. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, literally, it's like he gave me a hug and it was like heart to heart. You don't understand how awkward I felt. Like physical, like affection, even a hug, I get really awkward. Eye contact, I get awkward. And I'm just like, why? So these are all things that I'm trying to evolve and know that it's okay to allow someone to love you. And I've always felt like it was always my job to do that. Because maybe I thought, maybe it was my whole life I built like a shield, like armor up because I didn't want to get hurt. So maybe that was just my shield where I thought like, it's okay if I lead with love, but if someone else comes, maybe if they break my shield and then I get hurt. Because at the end of the day, I gave so many chances to my dad to come forward, to love me, to change, to be the father I've always wanted him to be, but he never became that guy. So I thought now, they say like I said in the poem, they say a girl's first love is their father. And you learn a lot based on your relationship with your father. And that was definitely an experience that I had there.
Precipitous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, props to you for sharing such a personal story. I know that it's been a difficult,
Vulnerability for
yeah.
me is not easy, but it needs to be done. End of the day, it's what makes you who you are.
Well, I hope you feel some relief having shared this.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more. But anyways, what's your
Was this
story?
the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, yeah. So what's your story, Iman? Elaborate.
I don't know how to follow up on that.
Easy. You go. So blah 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 blah.
Well, I mean, we have our stories are completely different.
It
I
doesn't
think.
have it doesn't
No,
have
I
to
know.
be
I'm just saying, like,
similar.
I'm saying, like, they are definitely completely different. And I guess for me to really tell my story, I kind of have to talk about a major crash that I had in my personal life. Some call it pit, some call it hitting the wall. And so for anyone who doesn't know me, I've had like the whole entertainment company thing and growing exponentially every single year. I mean, pretty much the main and only business I ever had was exclusively entertainment. There was nothing else. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. It started at 16 years old from having a little mini DJ business. And then when I tried to kind of go the corporate route and work at Ritz Carlton or work with my sister, like at the end of the day, I just knew I had to be my own boss. Like it was just my personality and my passion was
Hmm.
to kind of just run my own business. And after riding high for like 10 years, about 2 years ago, I just realized that um, I was making one big business mistake after another by producing these massive concerts and public events. And um, what was actually problematic was the fact that production wise, they were actually great. Even turnout wise, they
Yeah.
were very good, like from like the outsider's perspective. I mean, I wish that when I was having these public events and nobody would show up. That would have been great. That would have been perfect reason to
Yeah.
not continue. But when you continue to have all these validations or pat on the backs and great job, it was beautiful, spectacular, best concert I've ever been to, best this, and a lot of it was all in the Persian community too. You just kind of have this like thought of like, okay, well, something must be going right. So you continue doing it. But in my situation, it was actually financially crippling one after another, one after another, one after another. And every single time, me being like a virtual optimist, I was like, this time I'll get a sponsor, this time I'll get this time this will get picked up, all that stuff. Long story short, like the combination of pretty much six public events in a matter of 2018, 2019 really just stripped me of everything that I've worked hard for the 12 years prior leading up. Like everything that I built up EE for was kind of just crumbling down. I mean, that's really what was coming down. And like I kind of like lost um the eye on the prize thing. And while everything
What
was
was the
going great,
prize?
well, for me, the prize was just EE itself was going wonderful from a private events wedding standpoint, and like that was it. That was it. Like that should have been my whole thing. Like I loved
Mm-hmm.
weddings always. I loved like you have no idea how much I love first dances and how much I love father and daughter dances and mother and son dances and like
Yeah.
speeches. Like still after like 1,000 weddings, if I hear a good speech, if I see a beautiful like first dance where I know like a couple, like I feel like at this point I just know how couples,
So what made
a
you
good couple,
derail from like the
yeah,
wedding, private events,
yeah. So
to
ego,
doing these?
ego,
Okay.
yeah, ego.
Oh,
This
my
is
favorite three-letter
this is I
word.
overdose on ego.
Yeah. All
That's
right.
really
Elaborate.
what it comes down to. So and actually I didn't even realize that it was ego until very recently. Um, so I think when a human being, I think when they hit a failure of any type, at a certain point, there's got to be a moment where you're doing self-reflection when you're just trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Like, let me just like, because sometimes things just happen so quickly that like in that moment you don't even realize all the things that you're doing wrong or somebody else is doing wrong. It's like happens at the end
Yeah.
usually. I mean, well, smart ones hopefully they kind of realize it sooner, but I clearly was not one of the
Mm-hmm.
smart ones. So it was in hindsight 2020 kind of situation, and I was like, what in the world happened where everything was going so smooth, and then I felt the need to do all these public events for the Persian community, and they all fell flat on the face from a financial standpoint, to the point that it was just affecting every aspect of my life, my relationships with my friends, with my family.
Yeah.
Like I had to like fine tune exclusive entertainment, downsize it, figure out different things, and like all of this stuff was very embarrassing. It was shameful to like to see everything that you worked so hard on to all of a sudden just dissipate right in front of you.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of soul searching to figure out like what was it that caused me to do it. And the reason why I say ego is because now it takes me to age 9, where actually pretty much I was born and raised in Germany. I spent the first 10 years in Germany as a Iranian German, and because now my face, and when you're growing up as a child, you don't really realize all the things that are happening around the world and why people are behaving in a certain way. But I still remember when I was 9 years old, up until that point, my only friend was this Turkish guy who barely knew any German, and I somehow was friends with him. But I didn't know at the time why this
Yeah.
person. But you'll find out soon why that is. And then, so I mean, I think every kid wants to always fit in. Every kid wants to
Of
have
course.
friends, and there were like these two German kids. One was named Wolfgang, and one was called Marco. And they made it seem like they wanted to hang out and just be friends. And me again wanted to be friends with everybody, and especially because I didn't have any German friends, I felt like, oh wow, this is probably my opening. This is where I get to get to know people. And it was basically a sham. It was all like, hey, meet me at the blah blah blah. So I went over there, and literally the only reason why they set up this little hangout was for them to dupe me into getting into the bushes. They tied me behind my back and they just smacked me around, and just left me as it is. Like I think I've kind of like try to forget all the details of it, but I just know that that was the hangout. So this whole bullying thing, I think, really, really impacted me to the point where I then spent, when I was 10 years old, moved to Austria. So now I'm in a new country. Now here I'm trying to make friends, and here I'm in a different country. I'm there for 6 months. All of a sudden, family moves to Orlando, Florida. When I get to Orlando, once again, the only friend that I have is this Asian guy who barely speaks English as well. Why? Because I'm in a new country. I don't speak English. And so once again, you kind of get closer to the other foreigners. So I get to that foreigner, and after 8 months, I move to the Maryland area. I come over here once again. They call me a commie. I don't even know what the hell a commie is. I have American people who didn't want to get to know me or didn't take me seriously. So they would come and like dunk on my basketball court and break it. And, as I'm out of town. And the point is that like at no point do I actually get the opportunity to fit in anywhere. And then comes middle school, same exact situation. High school, you could never categorize me as the geek or the jock or the gothic person or the any kind of labeling that they would have. I would definitely be like the floater. I don't know if it's an outsider and I call it a floater. Maybe it is like an outsider, but like I didn't have problems with anybody. But at the same time, like I wouldn't be able to truly feel comfortable in a group of people, not even like a group of 3 or 4 people. And then came college. And at that point, it was about 16, 17 years old when I was at a cousin's wedding, and I kind of got into the whole DJing thing. For some reason, I just felt like, even though I didn't have even one CD in my possession, I had this crazy idea of wanting to become a DJ. Just because I found out that at 16 years old, you can actually make $500 by pressing play and stop as a DJ. And I tried to get my cousin Huschmand into it because I was like, hey, I don't want to do this thing alone. So I got into it, and very quickly, as I kind of like led this whole mini DJ company and marketed ourselves and made it Iman and Jasmine and kind of like tapped into the Persian community, very quickly we became super well known in the Persian community in the DMV area. And for the first time in my life, I didn't just like fit in somewhere, but I was actually the cool kid. And that was uncharted territory. And I think that the higher level version of that is like when somebody becomes like an overnight celebrity and they can't handle fame. They can't handle the success and the popularity and the money and all that stuff. So mine was on a very minuscule scale, but the effects were so profound. And those effects were the fact that all throughout college at University of Maryland, where it was like peak or prime DJ Iman, whatever. And at that time in 2002, 2005, basically, like 99% of weddings, club events, cultural events, whatever, it was just Iman and Jiman. Iman, I remember like in March of like 2004, 2005, we had a calendar, and in a 30-day March, we had 17 events. Like our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Wow.
Thursdays. Like we had my green van that we just left the equipment over there.
Yeah.
Because every night we're just driving to another place, unload, load, unload, load. And all this kind of stuff just fed into my ego. All this stuff, I mean, in hindsight, again, at that time, I just thought, okay, this is great. I find something that I love and people love it, let's do it. And so first of all, that's how I kind of, I don't want to say sucked in, because, you know, I have a lot of respect for the Persian community. Like my problems are my problems, not the Persian community's problem. They didn't do anything wrong.
Sure.
And, but I definitely got kind of like sucked into a certain bubble that was the Persian bubble. And I didn't even realize the Persian bubble. I just felt like, man, thank God I'm cool somewhere. And okay, sure, Persian community, who cares, you know?
Yeah.
Even though like I had a couple non-Persian friends, but literally like it went from in high school only having one other Persian in my school, aside from my cousin. Out of 1,600 Richmond Montgomery High School, there was like 2 Persians total. One was my cousin. And then I go to college and I become not only a part of the Persian community, but Iranian Students Foundation. I'm the freaking VP of PR. The second man up, my best friend was the president of Iranian Students Foundation. And he had just come from Iran like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So here comes somebody who had never even lived in Iran, doesn't even speak the language too good, just started DJing in the Persian community like 3 years prior. And now I'm like the epicenter of the Persian community of the DMV area. And that all kind of created the reasoning of why I started Exclusive Entertainment in 2008, where I was like, man, the one thing that I know and love is DJing and entertainment. And I have a huge network in the Persian community. And it was right where like the recession was happening, and I was coming from Doha, Qatar, because I didn't like being in the Middle East. And I was like, I'm going to start my own business. This is all I know. But I knew that I didn't want to DJ because I was never very good at DJing. It was more like the emceeing standpoint. And so EE began, and like between 27 and 32, 33, all my friends were getting married. So I had all these gigs and events coming. So it was a perfect wave to kind of ride. Then when kind of like that wave kind of crashed where like I couldn't just tap into my own network of friends getting weddings, I was like, okay, well, let me start doing some public events, bigger and better. And that's where I lost sight of the focus of, hey, you just built a nice company. You got lucky enough you had a foundation. Like anytime you have a business, if you have a foundation of people that are already interested in your product or your services, that's winning. And I fucked it up because I decided that, hey, you know what? Let me now venture out. Let me try to expand all these services. Let me do these public events and concerts. And the reason why those 6 events, I continue to go deeper in financial debt 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, because I was like, man, if I stop doing this, I lose this connection with this community that like appreciates me, that like loves me, that adore, not all of them, but you know, still like, I mean, there was so much love coming. This is why I have so much respect for the community.
So it's kind of why you derailed from the weddings and wanting to do public private events that had nothing to do with what EE was started off to do.
I lost my focus on that.
But you wanted to just kind of get that moment of like the popularity, the cool kid at that moment.
I mean, like the bread and butter was weddings.
Yeah.
Brandon was our director of operations. We were riding high in weddings. If I would have just put all my 100% focus,
but you wanted to get that
on
attention.
how to organize, how to focus on taking care of our clients. I pretty much gave my all of our more than 100 bride and grooms a year.
Yeah.
More than 350 events a year, corporate events, private parties.
Yeah.
I put that all in the hand of some dumb children.
Yeah.
Not you, Brandon. You're not one of them. You're the golden guy. No, but I mean, like literally, I trusted so many people, and I got fucked over in that regard too. So many people took advantage of the opportunity. So many people like they just kind of like they didn't take the job seriously because they didn't have the same care that I did. And like one of the main reasons why I think that Exclusive Entertainment originally got the great reputation was because I was white on rice. I took care of my clients. Like every single bride and groom, like there was not 30 minutes that would go by that I wouldn't respond to a bride. If a bride emailed me at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, she got a reply, if not earlier. You know, and so like that customer service was something I took a lot of pride in, and I was loving it. Everything was great, but somehow I needed attention. Somehow I was seeking something more that the bride and grooms were not giving it to me, and also really I just wanted to build an empire, like entertainment empire, because what else was I gonna do? There was no family, there was no children, there was nothing else. So
Yeah.
for me, EE was my baby. And I was like, how can I make this the strongest, best baby possible?
Yeah.
But when it's with a compass that's skewed, and when it's like from an owner or entrepreneur that is not focusing on the financials, that is not thinking realistically, and instead is thinking dreamlike, then it crashes
It's crazy how your ego can drive you
to overdose.
to overdose, essentially. So, and the fact that a sense of belonging, how powerful a sense of belonging and popularity and attention and fame has, and can impact people, that even drove you to being like, I forget about the finances, forget about everything else. It's like you said, like a drug. It's like a high that you get when you're around like the Persian community. They praise you, this event, you put this event, that you're too high on this that you forget about
It's an
what
addiction.
truly mattered. Yeah.
It's an addiction. I mean, it's no different than people who, obviously, I don't know how that feels, but I can imagine. But the people who kind of like, they blow up on social media and they have millions of followers, they're literally just looking at hundreds of thousands of likes, and that's all they're looking for. Mine was a real life version.
Yeah.
Today's version is social media version.
Yeah.
But my real version was, oh my God, 1,000 people came to my concert. Like the first 5 times, I didn't care.
Was it just the attendance of people, or was people reaching out? Were people giving you that attention other ways as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was attention in other ways as well. I feel like definitely in like my 20s, attention from girls for sure was a
Which makes
alluring
sense.
factor,
Yeah.
like because up until that point, I never had attention from girls. Nothing major.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I mean, now that I'm actually really thinking about it, nothing major,
Yeah.
nothing real. Like I didn't have like my 16-year-old sweetheart kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like I had a couple of relationships, but like in hindsight, when I kind of compare and contrast, I'm like, dude, that was not a real relationship. That was not whatever, And so I think that was that. But although there really was also a reason to kind of, for some reason, and I don't know why I did this, but I felt like I had to hold or carry on the torch of preserving Persian music, Persian culture.
Why? Why do you think
Man,
that's the
that's
case?
honestly one part that I can't figure out. I never lived in Iran. I've
Yeah.
literally had my foot in Iran 14 days
But do you
for a
think it
vacation.
goes back to the belonging? You want to feel like you can fit in with these people, although because you never
Oh yeah.
lived,
Well, yeah.
because
it.
you never.
That's it. Yeah. Thanks, Doc. No, I mean, no, that's it.
I'll send
that
you the
really
bill
is.
later.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's it. I mean, again, yes, that is the only community that at that time was.
You felt like you didn't,
giving me
since you
something.
didn't live there, since you didn't have a connection like everyone else did, so you had to
Yeah.
work extra hard
Yeah.
to build a connection with them. Maybe.
And this is actually why I, with all due respect, I like dismissed any girl other than Persian.
Really?
Ever.
Wow.
Not ever. I mean, like before I really, as the moment that I got into the
Wow.
Persian community, like out of
Yeah.
prime in college, because I remember like before that I was kind of dating
Yeah.
people like that were not Persian, but pretty much from like 21 onwards,
Wow.
there's not a single
So
relationship.
you wanted to make sure like everything around you was Persian.
Yeah, because you know what,
Wow.
like at least, because I knew that if there was like a Persian girl, it was non-Persian girl, the Persian girl would like know me, and that would be like an advantage.
Well, non-Persian lives matter too.
No.
Just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
That was so great. Yeah, no, I mean, like, are you gonna do it one more time? Is this your podcast thing? Every time you
Choke.
spit out something? No, but I mean, like, it's a very humbling feeling, honestly, when you realize that ego. And because
ego.
I mean, it's just
Everyone has it though. Like you have to be mindful of that. It's like everyone has it. I have it too. It's either being aware of your ego and not letting your ego control you. Like knowing that either you control your ego or your ego controls you.
How would you, if you knew somebody that had major ego, what would you tell them?
I would tell them. I don't know, honestly, because for me, I'm thinking of myself. For me, it's more pride.
Yeah.
I have
Oh
a
yeah.
huge sense of pride. And I got that from my dad. I got that from growing up and all this stuff. I'm the type of person is, oh, you're not gonna call me? I'm not gonna call you. Like, oh, you did this? Psh, no, like I mean that's just me. As a kid, I was always like that, right?
Yeah.
But again, it just goes back to like me not wanting to show weakness, me wanting to not show emotion and being strong, like knowing that I got this and I can do it.
Yeah.
Granted, I know that I can do it and I can do this, but it's okay to let that pride down, let that ego down. So what I would tell people is knowing that, is your ego serving you? I would just ask that question.
No, yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing. Like, I just wish, like, if I didn't have the ego after the first, because my whole thing was like, I cannot disappoint this community. The community needs me. I see now they do. The community's doing just fine.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody saying, hey, Iman, like, no one's crying over me.
Yeah.
But I'm dealt with like all the repercussions, you know? And like, again, it's no disrespect, but the point is that everybody's living their own life. And like, if you are truly making decisions to the point that it is financially crippling you, only because you think that somebody is going to look at you different, somebody is going to say, hey, what are you doing? No more concerts? Screw you.
It's like people making decisions for seeking validations of others
For no reason whatsoever.
and even if there is a reason,
yeah.
like you should never seek validation from others. It's what do you want? End of the day, you can't keep doing things for other people and other people to validate. Only you can validate what you're doing. End of the day.
I mean, it goes, I believe that somebody who has an ego problem, there's just unhappiness inside. And I think the key is to figuring out what is the root of that unhappiness. And sure, maybe some of the things are because of what you did, but most likely a lot of it is a part of your environment, is like how others were treated. You know, I mean, your situation, you know, a lot of the stuff that you were doing was as a result of unhappiness that you kind of like had to deal with. I
wouldn't say it's unhappiness.
What would you say?
I would say it's lack of confidence, insecurity. And
well,
I think that's what ego, but it comes from that. It comes from your environment. It comes from your childhood. It comes from all different experiences, right? It's like a recipe. And again, everyone has ego, regardless of what they've been through. Some egos are bigger than others, but everyone has an ego. Some people just can manage their ego better than others. But it always comes from a void. And an ego likes to fill something that's empty. Whether yours was like a sense of belonging, a sense of validation, showing that like, hey, you're cool. Oh man, we love you, Iman. You're great. And that was like, it like termites, like going in and trying to eat it up.
For sure.
And for me, it was a different thing. For everyone's going to be different. And we're trying to fill a void that everyone has. And what you do, you start chasing things to fill that void. And it's being able to sit still and being like, acknowledging and what that void is, and know there's other ways to fill it. You can fill it yourself with your own self-love, with your own this, without having to seek it from other facets in your life, whether it be an individual, whether it be likes on Instagram, followers, people going to your event, people praising you. End of the day, you have to show yourself love, because that love and validation you get from other people, it's not sustainable. It's short term. It's quick gratification. And unfortunately, we live in a world that we want instant gratification. We're not patient to be able to fulfill that void long term. So we want to fulfill it short term. So it's just, that's what it really comes down to. It's knowing if your ego serves you or not.
The one thing that I do want to kind of share is, and this is why I have such a soft spot for victims of bullies, you know, because as an adult, I wasn't bullied. Like as an adult,
but as a child, going deeper into
that.
Like,
no,
as a
I mean,
child,
as a child, it was horrible. I mean, like I still remember when I had just moved to Rockville on Fall Road, and my next door neighbor, I was like 10. The next door neighbor was 6 years old.
Wow.
I was literally afraid of a 6-year-old because he was just screaming out stuff just because we were foreigners next to him.
Wow.
That's it. I mean, like a 6-7-year-old kid. And like that stemmed from parents. That stemmed from the family, you know? Like was
it because you were foreign? Like, what would they say? What did they say?
Kami. This kid would just keep on coming, Kami. He like just walk around Kami. And like for the longest time, like back then Google didn't really exist, so I couldn't like Google. I did not even know what a commie meant. I
Wow.
was so confused.
Did you ever go and like ask, or did
No.
you just like
No,
keep
dude,
it?
like that door, like they were our next door neighbors, and I would even if I had to go down the street, I would cross the street to the Asian family and I would go straight down. Like I wouldn't even
Wow.
feel comfortable walking in front of the house because I just felt like these people have something against me and my parents, and like never was there communication. I don't even think I remember even seeing their parents. Like I can only imagine how much hell was going on in
Yeah.
that family because no matter what I went through, there was so much love in my family, you know, and that's what like kind of held the glue together because
Yeah.
like that's kind of what you kind of like you lean on.
Yeah.
I could only imagine the hellhole that existed right next door, but at that time, all I can see is like
Sure.
this like bulldog that just kept on like coming at me, and like I don't know, it's just a very uncomfortable situation as a child when like other people are just criticizing everything that you say or do and whatever because you're too young to
It fucks
understand.
with you.
Yeah, you're too young to understand all that stuff. So I like anytime that I hear stories of bullies, man, those things like really resonate with me. And
I think
like
it's worse now. And in the midst of, like I said, social media, I think honestly it breaks my heart how bad the mental health aspect is right now.
yeah,
Add quarantine on top of that, add COVID. But overall, it's like that there needs to be more awareness
yeah,
around mental health, and people need to make it more socially acceptable when it comes to therapists
yeah.
and this. I know culturally, like I know in
But
our culture, they
before
look at it
that,
as like,
oh yeah, but before that, it's like just to just to talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be a therapist.
no,
Is that
yeah,
people don't even talk to their friends, to their boyfriends, to their girlfriends,
yeah,
to their own family. Like when shit hit the fan for me.
did you go talk to your family about
Oh,
it?
so my family was were the last people that really knew. Oh
Really?
my God, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I remember like the first family member that I really like kind of told like the gravity of the situation was my sister, and then it took like several weeks to like really like get, and then I got my brother-in-law involved, and then like I mean the last people that I really wanted to like share that type of news
Why do you think
was,
that was it? Do you think you just
well,
want to
I
disappoint
mean no,
them?
well, because really leading up to a couple of years ago, like before 2018, I mean I was getting set to take care of my parents and all that stuff, you know, like that, like they were in retirement, getting into retirement. My mom was still working, and you know, just like I'm a huge believer that as a child, when you grow up, your obligation is
Yeah.
to reciprocate and take care of the parents and whoever else you can, you know? And I was on path with that. And 6 public events washed out 3,000 events that me and my team worked our asses
Yeah.
out because like it stunted not just growth, but it stunted my
Yeah.
ability to like take care of my family, take care of my parents above all, you know? And you know, there was definitely a many, but actually, you know what? Here's a silver lining. They always say that through great times, everybody's on a roller coaster. But who's there when you truly hit rock
True.
bottom?
True.
And I'm so grateful for some of the friendships that have been
Yeah.
gained because, like, you know who the hell your
That's
ride or
true.
die people are
Yeah.
when you are in that abyss.
Yeah.
And those are friendships that I know 100%. I mean, I would die for them.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's not too many people that can say that you would die for multiple people.
For sure.
But because they were there for me in my darkest hours, like I literally owe my life to multiple people. And so for me, that's the great part
No,
of it. It's
that's
the
a
fact that
blessing. A lot of
it's a
people don't
great,
have that
oh
like
man.
support system, the friendships,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And so for me, that was like um that was my story, is the fact that I really wanted to kind of share this because if there's anybody that thinks that they're the shit, thinks that like, you know, they're taking things for granted, thinks that like they can kind of like they're Superman, they can go through everything and anything, just know that there is a wall that is waiting for you if you're not practicing gratitude, if you're not being humble, if you're not being um, financially cautious about everything.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like the global pandemic was a reminder to everybody that so quickly the world can be flipped upside down.
Yeah,
So if
for
you don't
sure.
have your shit together, if you don't have a nest egg, if you're not financially conservative, then these kind of things happen. And now that I'm like 40, I'm like, wow, there's been like pandemic, There's been the financial crisis of 2009. There was 9/11, 2001.
Yeah.
There was like, wow, 20 years coming up. So 2020. And then like, I mean, the list goes on and on.
For sure.
I mean, every 5 or 10 years, something happens, either politically
Yeah.
or war or famine or pandemic that if you don't have your ducks in a row, if you don't have a backup plan, you will get shellacked. And
Yeah.
I was shellacked. I mean, I hit my face so hard on the pavement, you know? And but my goodness gracious, like the strength that I've built in the past year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what have you gained from that? Like, what
Yeah.
was your learning?
Well, first,
from
awareness.
That habit?
Like awareness of my imperfections, awareness of my ego, awareness of my I thought I was this rock star of an entrepreneur. And to know that, dude, you don't have shit figured out. Because if you did,
Yeah.
you would never be in this position. But and that's how Unite and Conquer was created, because I was like, man, you know what? We have to unite.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm not the only entrepreneur I feel. And there was this whole shame period. There's a reason why it took so long to get to my family and to even some of my friends.
Shame.
It's shame.
Yeah, I get
it's because,
that.
wait a second, all these people have thought that like I had it figured out.
Yeah.
That I was like the man. And now I have to freaking say that, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just a little boy apparently because I fucked up big, you know?
Yeah.
And those are hard conversations to have. And they're still hard to have with a lot of people.
For
but
sure.
but I've come to terms with it. I'm so glad that I have this opportunity to share this now, because I really wanted this to be shared in detail with a lot of people.
No, it's definitely important. I'm glad you did, for sure.
So yeah.
Do you feel better about it?
I actually do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because it's almost like the cat's out of the bag. I mean, even like Brandon, I feel like he's been with us for 4 or 5 years and he's become like family. And, you know, it was hard to kind of, like, you don't want to give all the details to everybody in the company at all times.
It gets shame again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as the CEO, you feel like you have to
put up a strong face, a strong
like you
whatever.
have it figured out.
Yeah, because also at least the people running away.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people will, again, it's the same. It's not just friends and family. Well, family should stick. But it's not just friends that run away. A lot of people in the business atmosphere, you think if I was honest and upfront, everybody would still be there? They'd be like, gone, like mice out running around. So like, I had to kind of balance that, you know. At the same time, I didn't feel right about not being able to be 100% honest about everything. Actually, Brandon is one of the people that I had like a little chat to kind of give them some kind of heads up and understanding, because things were just changing so drastically in the business that you couldn't like be like, hey, what the hell's going on over here? What, like is Iman losing it or what's going on? Especially because we were still doing like 13 events in one weekend. If he's gonna freak out just thinking about that, you know, like 13 events and weddings in a 3-day period.
Stressful.
Yeah, it's just insane. And like, and by the way, that overload of events was because like I had to have money coming in.
So you're trying to overcompensate.
I had to overcompensate. So I was like, let me slash the prices. Let me do this and whatever. So these are the reasons why I'm so excited about EE in 2021 when weddings happen again, is because now I have it figured out.
Now you're refocusing back to
it's quality. It's
going back
the core
to
service, the core.
The reason, the
That's
why.
The pride, the
why, yeah.
You know, and one of them is that I genuinely love seeing people happy and making people happy and being the reason for their special day to be awesome. I mean,
so weddings is the core focus
for EE. It really, and we've simplified it. It's just going to be our DJ services that we rock hard. There's no more event planning. There's no more photo booths. There's no more all these crazy types. He loves bistro lights, but you know what I mean. Like,
so
it's just
lighting,
focus.
Entertainment.
That's it.
Yeah, exclusively entertainment.
Back to the name.
Yeah.
Back to the core services of the name, you know? And so, I mean, I just hope this pandemic comes around. So
good for you. And I'm pretty hopeful.
Yeah.
I wasn't so much in the beginning of this. This quarantine, it's still like I'm still trying to fathom everything. But I feel like when it comes to weddings and events, 2021, we're going to get back to it.
The world is going to turn over a new leaf.
Yeah.
Do you think, speaking of a pandemic, do you think that you would have been sharing this if we didn't have this pandemic happening? Or would you have continued going down the same path? I
think the pandemic forced me. So I'm the type of person that I'm like, my mind, how can I put it? If I had to give an example how my mind is, it's like on your browser, you have 50 tabs open.
So like your real browser.
Yeah, like my actual browser, yes. That's my brain. And that's how I operate. And I try to keep myself constantly busy because I don't like to think or face how I'm feeling. The pandemic forced me being at home alone in my little 650 square feet apartment, and you're forced to think a lot. And I thought a lot. And I started trying to understand everything and be my own therapist. And then during that, the worst heartbreak of my life happened. So at that, adding on top of that, made me keep thinking and thinking and thinking. So all of that combined, yeah, when you're forced to think, there's actually I've considered it, but I don't know if I can do it. It's like a retreat you can go on where it's like silence meditation,
Oh, I've heard about those.
where you're basically like
a week,
and sometimes more. I think.
Oh my God,
you're
I would
like
die.
in a room and you're not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
And from people I've heard, like they've had friends, I've had huge breakthroughs from that, and I've had a mini version of that during the pandemic, and it feels good, but it's constant, right? And I've been telling you, it's like an onion. You want to keep peeling the onion until you get to the core and understanding what the why is and what it is. But once you figure it out, it's great. It's good for you mentally. It's good for you professionally.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of leading with that confidence. So, yeah, I think the pandemic, yeah.
And letting hair down and
letting
boasty,
your hand
and
down.
all goes hand in
Yeah,
hand.
exactly.
I mean, you've even kind of come to the conclusion that boasty is this lifestyle brand that best reflects you and your personality.
Absolutely.
And what you want to go after.
That's the goal with boasty.
You thought you were just making a CBD hair serum.
No, it's so much more than that.
It's so much more.
It means like the world to me because the messaging behind it and what I want boasty to stand for goes completely beyond just hair and beauty.
Mark my words, boasty is going to be a global product.
No, trust me.
It's going to be a global,
this is my ego
global
talking.
lifestyle.
This is my ego talking. But yeah, I know I'm super excited because I think my passion and my heart, before I would not lead with my heart. That was always my problem. There was a disconnect with my heart and my brain. I was constantly battling the two, which would actually stop me from being my authentic self.
Yeah.
That was the big thing because I felt my brain was telling me, no, Jasmine, sit up straight. Jasmine, don't do that. And then my heart was like being like, man, just pick up that chicken wing and eat it. Like, you don't use a fork and knife. So it's like constant battle. That would be like me being my authentic self. But overall, I feel like now I'm leading with my heart. I've accepted it's okay.
Jazz.
Yeah, but the heart is me.
Yeah.
I'm leading with fucking soon, right? Soon.
Yeah.
And just bringing that more to life.
Well, the world needs more soon / jazz.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be great.
And less ego.
And less ego. So parting words.
Please. You go first.
Well, for me, honestly, it really comes down to you have to, first of all, lead with love, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of loving yourself. And then love as many people around you as possible. Humble yourself as much as possible. Your ego will only get you in trouble. Trust me, I know very well. And I'm actually even grateful for this incredible financial crash because it has allowed me to slow down my life. And maybe that's a pandemic too. But when you are kind of like humbled in every shape or form, you kind of see life in its most rawest and simplistic ways, that when you are riding high and life is going by 120 miles per hour, you miss it.
Yeah.
You miss the relationships, you miss the authenticity, you miss the beautifulness of life. And I appreciate what has happened to me so much. I mean, so many great relationships have been created. And I just have a much clearer vision. It's not perfect. Nothing is 100% clear.
It's never going to be perfection.
Nothing is 100% clear, but I just know that life, when it's simplified, is at its best.
Yeah.
And when people are thinking that it's flashy cars, flashy homes, jet setting, all this big time events, all this love and adore, no.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself first. Take care of the people that truly take care of you. And life is a much happier and better place. And if you're a young person watching this, don't be the bully in your school, because there's somebody whose life that you're altering in more ways than you ever think. And I hope that you find the love that you deserve that is causing you to causing that harm to somebody else in the first place. So talk to more people, share your pain, share your struggle. Don't take it out on somebody else, because you're not just taking somebody else down, but you're taking yourself down. So that's my parting words.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, because words hurt.
Yeah,
It's
they matter.
crazy how like just 1, 2, 3 words someone could say to you can impact you for the rest of your life. So absolutely, and that's kind of goes with bullying or anyone around you. My last parting words would be: vulnerability is a strength. It's not a weakness. Something that I was raised with, thinking that don't be emotional, don't show, you got it on your own. And me realize that, yes, learn how to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. But also know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And we build walls to protect ourselves, but sometimes breaking those walls are still hurting us as well. And it goes with life. Things that we think we're protecting ourselves from are the same things are hurting us from. It's knowing when to break those walls down, allow love to come in, because love is a beautiful thing, and allow yourself to give the love, but also know that you are deserving of that love as well. And if someone's not giving you that love, and it's not that you're not worthy of it, just know that in the end of the day, you are beautiful, you're worthy, you're amazing. As individual, we're all unique in our own ways, but we need to make sure that we're showing up as that individual. There's so many labels, so many expectations, and so many boxes people want to put us in, because that's what society is. Society wants to box us. Media, everything we see on social media, what we see in movies, there's expectations as men and women on how we're supposed to act, how we're able to show up. So there's so much pressure on us to make sure that we fulfill what those expectations are from family and from media and society. Know that none of that matters. All that matters is how you want to show up, and not to lose sight of that. When you wake up every morning, love yourself, look in the mirror and being like, you're fucking awesome.
You're a badass.
You got this. You're a badass. And that no matter what anyone cares about, it doesn't matter. You be you. Lead with you and let your hair down and regain that confidence. Confidence was going to drive you. So that would be my parting words.
Wonderful.
Cheers.
Well, thank you.
Man.
Thank you for this, Jazz.
No, this was
Appreciate
great conversation. You too. You too.
And let's get shit done. Hey, before you go, please click the subscribe, and thank you.
That's a bell, by the way. That bell button. That's what we meant.